Hello everybody. In this video we're going to talk about the new and maybe improved version of the gradient tool in Photoshop. So last year Photoshop did change a lot of the ways some of the tools work. The gradient tool got a major overhaul last year, which pretty drastically changes the functionality of the tool. So the gradient tool in your toolbar is this one right here that has a black to white gradient. If you can't find it, you might have to click and hold on the paint bucket tool in order to then select your gradient tool and use it. One of the main things with the gradient tool is when you now click and drag, you'll notice that you automatically get a layer with a layer mask. This is a gradient fill layer, and it changes based on the type of gradient that you use. That was a linear gradient. Let's try it with a radial gradient. It'll automatically modify it. You can see that it's changed the preview there. Now, the interesting thing about this is I have my color stops here inside my gradient that I can then click and adjust. So if I didn't want this color blue, I could double click this, change it to a darker blue, maybe change it to a green or a white or a red, whatever I feel like works for this particular image, and click OK, and it will be set. Same thing with these other color stops. I can select them, I can move them around, make them larger, make them smaller. If I want to adjust the color, double click and make your adjustment from there. Click OK. One of the major things that you will want to utilize with this newer version of the tool is your properties panel. If you can't find your properties panel, come up to Window menu at the top, select Properties, and you have it there. In your properties panel, you can modify the style of your gradient. You can change the preset of your gradient if you would like. And you can change all other aspects of it as well. With our old version of the gradient, we could click inside of the preview up here in our menu or options bar. With the old version of this tool, you could just go up to your options bar, click inside of the preview, and pull up the gradient editor. That is no longer true with this new version of the gradient tool. If I want to pull up the gradient editor, which in my opinion is one of the more useful ways to edit a gradient, I have to come down here to my fill layer and double click the thumbnail there, and then click inside of the gradient preview there, and then I have my gradient editor. The reason I like Gradient Editor, you can name things, you can easily see everything, you can change your color stops, you can also add additional color stops if you would like to, drag them away. It's just more, that might just be what I'm used to, but that is there. Now, once again, the Properties panel is where they want you to be making these changes now, and you can add additional color stops in the Properties panel. It's a little bit smaller. You can also change the color of them as well. You can click to drag them away if you want them to be gone. And these things in between the color stops kind of change the blend from one color stop to another. But yeah, that is the new gradient tool. If you want to switch back and forth between the two, I think that we have to have a blank layer, and then we can switch between gradient, which is the new version of the tool, and classic gradient, which is the other way that this tool used to work. I still probably prefer classic gradient, but that's how my mind works. But the new gradient tool does have its useful features. And for the purpose of our assignment, if we do have a selection, whoops, let's go back over here. And then we go to our gradient tool. Let's choose some colors that we like. They will automatically apply into our selection. Now, what's nice about this is the fact that it does give us this live preview. And that part is pretty cool, which we can adjust however we need to. Let's make this a little bit brighter. And maybe we'll make a larger circle behind it. We'll make another gradient. And we can adjust it however we want to. So yes, this is the newer version of the gradient tool, which works slightly different than the previous version. You can see here, because I had selections, it's automatically applied a mask to that gradient fill layer. But yeah, that's the new and maybe improved version of Photoshop's gradient tool.